Hey, what's up guys? It's PJ. Today I'm back with book recommendations for type 4 individuals from the Enneagram personality types. So, just like any other video I've made in this series, before I go into giving the book recommendations, I think it's important for us to take a moment and kind of look at what the type 4 individual, basically personality type, what does that look like, and how can you possibly tell if you are a type 4 individual based on some of this general description that I'm going to give. And just like anything, any subject that you study, you have kind of like the general understanding and you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Enneagram is of course the same way. So let's just go ahead and give a really general understanding or basic explanation of the type 4 from the Enneagram. The type 4s are called, in one tradition, the tragic romantics or the bohemian. The individualist is another name that they are given. So basically, this is an individual who truly seeks authenticity. They want to be as authentic as possible. They don't really like stereotypical or generalized things. So like I actually chose this shirt because I bought it at a thrift store, and thrift stores are, you could call them the campgrounds for type 4 individuals, because they don't want to go to, let's say, Target or Gap. They don't want to go to a general store like that and then buy something that there are 1,000 or 1,000,000 other copies of it made, and so many other people are wearing the same thing. They want to be an individual. They want to be unique. And so they might go to a thrift store and buy, this shirt that I have no idea who made it or where it's from, but it's like unique. I don't see that many other people walking around in this. If you have one, let me know so I can change it to a new one. That's how type 4 would think. And so basically they seek authenticity. They want to be very authentic. Another aspect about the type 4 individuals is that they are so in touch with the realm of emotions. I mean, you can call them the deep divers of the emotional sea. They go deeper than most of us will ever dare to venture, because emotions, you have let's say the good or the uplifting emotions like joy, peace, happiness, excitement, those things. But you also have, in that spectrum, you have emotions like sadness, anger, just depression, which is similar to sadness and depression. You could probably say they're alike, but another name or another aspect of the type 4 individual, the reason I said depression is because melancholy is a feeling that's very familiar to them. I don't want to say they enjoy it necessarily, but they're very comfortable in the emotional state of melancholy. And where does that melancholy come from? A lot of it comes from the fact that they seek to be so unique, but at the same time, there's this underlying feeling of like, I can't ever find people whom I feel like I truly belong with. Like, I can't find a tribe of people who I just feel like they're my people. When you're an individual, and we all should strive to individualize ourselves. Like, for example, type 9s, which is my type, like, we tend to not individualize ourselves enough, right? So what that means is, if we're around certain people, we become just like those people, just like that group. And it's the aspect of like losing your authenticity, losing your individuality. So type 4s are overly individualized. So they're so individualized. So they might like have a hairstyle that nobody has. They might wear clothes that nobody else does. They might listen to music that not that many people do. And then because of that, it gets very difficult for them to find somewhere that they feel like they belong, a group of people that they're like, these are my people. So there's a sadness that comes from that, because ultimately, I was reading a book today, and it was talking about how the saddest thing for an individual is to go to death basically without anybody that they could truly be themselves around, like that they could truly feel like they belong with. That's like one of the saddest things a human being can experience, is that like on your deathbed, you can't look around and be like, wow, like I really feel like I belong, in this group. And so there's a big sadness that comes from that. So individuality has a price to pay, and type fours pay that greatly, probably bigger than all of us, you know. And so the books that I wanted to recommend, and obviously you can, with just like I said, with any Enneagram type, you can get so much deeper. There's so many levels. But if we were to just break it down into a few words, I would say authenticity for type fours, words that really matter and describe them pretty well. Authenticity, emotional, melancholy, or I don't know if that's a description, but they are very familiar with this feeling of melancholy. And let's just stick with those. And tragic, romantic, and bohemian, I said those names that they are given in some Enneagram traditions, but basically the bohemian is the fact that somebody is like living such a different lifestyle, you know. And then the tragic romantic goes back to the fact that they dive deep in the emotional realm, and you know they're always looking for that right partner. Also, in some sense, that they're looking for the tribe that they belong to. They're looking for that partner that's like they're gonna feel like they belong with each other. But like a lot of times when they get in a relationship, the moment they get in a relationship, it's almost like that person, that object of attraction now loses, that person of attraction now loses its excitement that got the type 4s excited. So the way I just explained type 4 is obviously super basic. This is like Wikipedia version of, you know, explaining the type 4 personality type. But based on that very simple understanding, I chose certain books that I feel like these books, what they can do for type 4 individuals, they can kind of help them strengthen a certain aspects of their personality that because of the natural tendencies of their personality, those aspects might be a little bit underdeveloped, or just in general, strengthening those aspects can help them function with more ease in the world, I would say, and feel like they can overcome certain hurdles that their personality presents them with. Just like any personality type from the Enneagram, each personality type presents certain obstacles and hurdles and habits and patterns of being that we have to just overcome, or strengthen the parts that are weak. So I'll go into the first book. This book for me was super life-changing when I read it. It was one of the first books that really helped me see my own inherent goodness and inherent loveliness, and basically like see myself from how my creator would see me, you know. And whatever your spiritual beliefs are, in my case I believe that like I was created by a creator, and that creator loves me, and like loved put so much love into my creation. And that message, hearing a message like that, it could be so healing for type 4s, because if you feel like there's nowhere that you feel like you belong, there's nowhere that you feel like you feel the absolute love that you desire, excuse me, well, guess what? Your creator loves you. And a message like that, or a belief system like that, can be so helpful. So, first book, Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love. This is a classic. This is actually my girlfriend's copy, Victoria's copy, and even her copy is pretty, you know, beat up. And I don't even have mine anymore. My favorite books, I've given them away, and I think that's kind of, I don't know. It's just I feel like that's the beauty of books. You can just give it to someone and say, "Hey, this changed my life," and I feel like it can do the same for you. This book, Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love, was it's based on another massive spiritual text called A Course in Miracles that to me is very like near and dear to my heart. But basically, this is a great intro to the principles taught in A Course in Miracles. Gosh, this book really gave me almost like a new operating system of being in the world. And you know, certain books you just read over and over and over again, and over time they change and evolve. And as you evolve, they evolve with you, and they're living, breathing books. And this is definitely one of them. So, and you've probably have heard this quote, and it's been attributed to so many other people like Nelson Mandela, but it's actually from this book. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. That is actually a quote by Marianne Williamson, and it's from A Return to Love. So, highly recommend it. I'm sure you will really enjoy it, or at least I hope that you will really enjoy it. But nonetheless, for any type, this is a phenomenal read. So, second book. Because type 4s are such amazing, individuals, they're so creative, right? They have just the way they are in the world is a creative expression, and a lot of times they are artists, and they create different things, beautiful things. They're very creative, just like I said. But creativity, one thing I had to find with creativity was that creativity has two ways of manifesting in the world, and you need both. You have the way of you get the flash of inspiration, and then boom, like you see the painter that just like gets the inspiration, starts painting super quick, and there's like this masterpiece. That's the version that I feel like movies sometimes want to make us believe, or I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I'm saying it's just one way of creation coming into manifestation. Another way is that instead of waiting for the inspiration every single time, instead of basically saying that the way I feel inside myself is what determines what actions I can take in the moment. That's a big I don't want to say downfall, but a big pitfall for type 4 individuals. Like in work settings, sometimes if they don't feel like their emotions are not in the right place, like they're not feeling good, they're sad, or they're not feeling ready to do a task, they're gonna feel like until I get my emotions sorted out, I won't be able to get the job done. And for a lot of people around them, that might seem like a big hindrance in getting stuff done. But this book that I'm going to recommend, it's kind of to help, understand emotions are a beautiful thing. But if emotions control us, then that's not as much of a beautiful thing. They're now our master instead of us being the master, and the emotions just being part of the arena, part of our empire, part of our lives instead of them running us. So this book is to help us get more in touch with that sense of like, whether the inspiration is here, whether I'm feeling like it or not, I'm gonna do what I need to do today. So for example, shooting these videos, like I was inspired with the idea for these videos, but to actually repeatedly come and crank them out, so to speak, get them done, I had to combine structure with inspiration. So just having one is not going to always be helpful. So this book, which actually is the second book, I believe, from a series of books that this author has written, and the first one, which is a must read for anyone that ever tries to do anything creative, and creating our lives is creative, so anyone really. It's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield, but that's not the book I'm going to recommend today. I'm going to recommend this one because this is really near and dear to my heart. This book in particular is called Turning Pro. Basically, Steven Pressfield in The War of Art, he talks about how he's a writer. He's a famous writer and screenplay writer, and basically he recalls a moment in his life where he kept trying to get projects done and kept failing and kept like pushing back his artistic dreams. He would get what he would call shadow callings. It's like a calling that, or a thing that you do that's so close to what you feel in your heart is what you're called to do, but it's not it, and you know that. And so he recalls a moment where everything changed, and he said it was a moment where he went from amateur to a pro. And what he means by that is that a pro shows up no matter what. And he was like, in pursuing my artistic dreams, at some point I was an amateur, meaning that I would show up when inspiration was there. Then I was playing. I was not actually professionally pursuing something. Like so many of us go and play, like play a sport on the weekend with our friends, or go work out at the gym. But the professional bodybuilder or the professional athlete, they're going to show up to training whether they feel like it or not. And he was talking about how, as artists, and a lot of type 4s are artists, we need to just have that professional attitude. Professionals play to win. Professionals are playing not just to play and have fun, but they're playing for a purpose. And so they need to have the same structure that an athlete would have. You show up to training no matter what. You pursue a goal, with understanding that emotions, yes, emotions are great motivators, but you can't rely on your emotions all the time to drive all your actions. A lot of times he calls the inspiration the muse. Like the muse basically visits you. And he says that, the muse, some people think that they have to wait for the muse, the inspiration to visit them. And then once that happens, then boom, they go and do what they need to do, what is their work, as he calls it. But the muse actually honors the person who sits down at their desk and begins working, begins creating, and then the muse sees that they're putting it forward, that effort, and it shows up. And so this was massive for me. I mean, if it wasn't for Stephen Pressfield's books, The War of Art, Turning Pro, Do the Work, all those books in this same series of books that he's written, I probably would not be as far along as I am with creating any sort of anything, whether it's helping create Keystand, whether it's helping create these videos, whether it's anything I've done creatively. If I didn't have some of the principles that he teaches in these books in my mind, I would not have been able to do that. And for type 4s, you are some of the most artistic beings in this world. So who is the recipient of your gifts? We, the customers, the consumers of the art that you create. So you not finishing the work that you start is robbing everybody else from receiving those beautiful gifts of yours. And I've said I would never get a tattoo, but if I do, it's going to be the last sentence from this book, Turning Pro. He says, "The hero wonders, the hero suffers, the hero returns. You are that hero." And I know that that might not seem like a super massive statement, when it's standalone, but after this whole book, he's basically talking about as the artist, as the creator, as a type 4 individual who has gifts to give to this world. You are the hero, and you are capable of giving certain gifts to the world that you have to have the ability to bring them to fruition. To creating anything is hard. Like a woman developing a baby in her womb, that's work. But then there's the miracle of birth, and giving birth is painful, and it's messy, and it's hard, and it causes suffering, but when the fruit of that birth is given, it's so joyful. Everybody's happy. It's like that gift truly brightens the world. And so basically, type 4s being so creative, like any creative endeavor, the fruits of that endeavor are gonna come from dedicated effort and dedicated discipline, plus the intuition, plus the inspiration, and all those things. So that's for specifically the super artistic type 4 individuals, but I feel like most type 4s have some sort of creative outlet. So the next books, I actually don't have physical copies. I've listened to audiobook versions. This book is by, I think, Kamal Ravikant, I believe. Yes, Kamal. Because he has a brother, his name is Naval Ravikant, and they both have phenomenal content out online. But Kamal's book is called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And this book was really helpful for me. I read it at the beginning of 2020 which was when I kind of realized I don't love myself enough. It's like I'm too hard on myself, and like I didn't really notice it, and people around me notice it more. It's like I could be very critical of myself because, and now like understanding the Enneagram, I feel like it's that one wing of me because I'm a 9, and so my wings are 8 and type 8 and type 1, and so that one wing I feel like it's a perfectionist, and it's the self-critical part of me, and it's always about like you can do better, you can be better, you can uh, do greater things, which is good to an extent, right? But it can also go south. So I realized that through some of the observations that my friends had of me. And then I stumbled upon this book. This book was super helpful. It's literally what the name implies. Love yourself like your life depends on it, because this man in the book, this whole book is almost like it's not really a biography, but it shows his journey from um, hitting rock bottom, really just like in a really bad place. And for a lot of type 4s, it's not that they've hit rock bottom, but they know what that feels like because they've explored so many different feelings, and a lot of times they might dwell in that melancholy, sad, depressed like place. And so this book really uses self-love as a way of getting us out of that darkness, out of that pit that a lot of times is self-created by our minds. So highly recommend that book. And also on self-love, I also recommend the course by Teal Swan. It's called Teal Swan's Self-Love Course, I believe. You can go on her website or go on her Instagram. I'm sure the link is in her bio. Teal Swan is a phenomenal teacher, spiritual teacher. Yeah, that course it's not a book or anything, but it's a course that you can buy on her website. It's phenomenal. That was really helpful in giving me practical tools, amazing practical tools on how to love myself more, and like, because you can say love yourself more, but to somebody who has gotten accustomed to not loving themselves, that might as well be like, hey, build a rocket. It's like, no, like, give me steps, give me like, hold my hand and walk me through that process. So that course is phenomenal in that process. So that wraps up the book recommendations that I had for type 4s. I hope that you find this video helpful. Please let me know if anything that I discussed resonates with you, if you found it helpful, if you know yourself to be a type 4, or if based on this video you came to the understanding or possible realization that you may be a type 4. Let me know, or let me know if have you read any of these books? Have you read anything else from these authors that I mentioned? Yeah, and just please let me know if you found this helpful. And thank you for following my work. If you have any questions about Enneagram, any sort of direction that you think I can point you towards in understanding yourself better, please let me know. I would love to help. Thank you for watching. Again, this is PJ, and I will talk to you in Type 5 video.